You're talking about the Notting Hillbillies, of course. What all that happened was I was going to produce a record for Steve. And I don't know how long we'd been talking about it. I think Steve had asked me if I'd do one for him. And I was all set to do that. And then I think that he was thinking in terms, fairly shortly after, of a Steve and Brendan record, which pleased me no end, because by that time, of course, I was well into what Brendan was doing with his band and the 5 O'Clock Shadows and everything. And I was playing with him, actually, from time to time. The Steve and Brendan record very quickly became a Steve, Brendan, Mark and Guy record, because we're interfering so-and-sos, and I refused to have them sing some tunes and made some other suggestions about other tunes, because we've all got tunes that we like. So us, we being we, it just became a band, really. Just became a band. Then we were thinking about having made a record and having spent all this time in between other projects making this record, then it just seemed natural that we'd want to stick some of our own tunes in. So that there was a tune that Steve had written, there was a tune that I ended up writing, there was a tune that Brendan wrote, we chucked them into. And so it was partly to get our own songs out, but as well as it was to have a crack at doing some things that had never been really given a proper airing. A lot of great songs, beautiful tunes that have never been heard before, really. We weren't precious about it. I never wanted to be precious about reconstructing these tunes exactly the way they were. And I've never been that way anyway about it. And Brendan's certainly not like that. It's nice, healthy disrespect, really, for any kind of train-spotting authorities, you know. I mean, we'd chuck in an African thing here, or a different influence there, or marimbas here, or if we felt that it needed it. And Guy on the Sinclair just meant that, you know, we could dial up all of these things all the time and have a try of things, and sling things out. And the other great thing about making the record was that because we did it in fits and starts, because I'd be off doing something else, or Steve and Brendan go away gigging again, and I'd do a film score, I'd go to Los Angeles, do a Randy Newman record, come back and listen to some stuff with Guy, and we'd go, oh, I don't like that, we'll change that, we'll get that better. And so it was great to do it in bits, rather than in 3 weeks. It's been spread out over months.
It's about 18, it runs in that, it's like a very old sort of family tradition of things. It's almost like entertaining yourself at home. There's 3 of you sitting there, it's your turn to sing, then it's his turn to sing, then it might be Steve's turn to sing. And you accompany each other.
That's it, yeah.
You stay there as long as you stay there.
That's it, we didn't watch telly, we played guitar.
What did we do? 3 hours? Very nice. But it doesn't seem like 3 hours, because you're just sort of entertaining each other.
That's to the audience, of course.
But we don't care about them as we've got their money.
Oh. It's important to remember who you are and where you came from. I mean, I'll never forget. I've never wanted to get away from that, really. Wherever you might be in the world, whatever you might be doing, and the first friends that you've had are, generally speaking, the best ones, and the music that you've always loved and always played on the instruments that you've always loved and always played tends to be the stuff that...
I'm going to almost tell exactly the same story as you, that I moved to Leeds to do something strange, like work on the railways. and went to a gig one night, and there was this complete wild man playing blues, and it was Steve Phillips. And in that form, I saw him then, was when he had a thing called the Juke Band, which is one of the best rockabilly bands I have ever seen. It really swung. Do you remember it well?
Yeah, well, he had a great, that later on, yeah, Steve had a rockabilly band. It was just a little three-piece thing, and it just was...
It hummed.
Really, really good stuff.
And he'd choose tunes that nobody would normally put into that sort of context, you know, things that nobody would think of doing in that context, and play wild guitars. And I said exactly the same as you. I'm going to go visit him. I'm going to go visit this man. And you hit it off with each other very quickly.
I was getting seriously into Brendan's stuff by this time. Brendan had actually demonstrated that he could, not only that he was one of my favourite singers, which he is, but he's actually demonstrated that he could write great stuff, and he could get his own band was going, the 5 O'Clock Shadows and everything.
Sometimes I wonder what in the world would we all do. Sometimes I wonder what on earth is wrong with you. Must have made a wrong decision, the kind that we all make from time to time. Must have made a wrong decision, the kind that weighs upon your mind. Every day I think of what is wrong and what is right. Every day I think of what has been and then what might. Must have made a wrong decision, the kind that we all make from time to time. Must have made a wrong decision, the kind that weighs upon your mind.
So, I feel like Going Home was, getting that song together was a challenge, because the initial temptation is to just to take it on piano and duplicate that gospel style. But I soon tired of that and just wanted to do it in another way completely. And I like the way that the arrangement worked out, and the way that the whole thing sounded still works. And I like both versions.
Unbeknownst to Mark, the same weekend that he was going to play it to us and say, do you think this is a good song, a friend of ours called Mary Costello sat myself and Stephen down and said, listen to this. And when we got to your house, I said, have you heard a song called? And he said, I've got this to play you. So we never got to say, have you heard a song called? The first thing he played us was Feel Like Going Home. It's just what we were going to talk about.
Lord, I feel like going home.
It's ostensibly a gospel song, a weapon of prayer. I think all of us feel it could be about anything, really, couldn't it? It's just about how you purport yourself in the world. So we didn't feel funny about doing a gospel song as such. We never saw it that way. But it's that, so we could do that nice family singing, that wonderful way of singing. I mean, my first hearings of it is the Everly Brothers. I had to work backwards. I don't know about you. I don't know if you had.
I like the song because it applies. And to me, it doesn't matter whether you're a religious character or not, in an orthodox sense, any kind of sense. It just works. It has lots of applications. You can make it work. That somehow the song manages to be such that anyone can make it work for themselves. It's not like, hey, Notting Hillbillies come out against war. This is amazing stuff. But it does have it. I never thought it was Your Own Sweet Ways of classic. I'm sure it's not. But it just seemed appropriate because you write all kinds of different songs, and some of the songs that I've written have been recorded by other people, Nashville people, and the Judds, and Waylon Jennings, and so on and so forth. Chet Atkins and the Everly Brothers have recorded my stuff. But they couldn't record. They wouldn't do Tunnel of Love or anything. That, you know, they wouldn't do Sultans of Swing, or they wouldn't do Money for Love. The National has always been a bit of a magical thing. We always considered it that. You know, we'd just sit and look at them. Didn't have to play them. And I still feel the same way. They're lovely things to listen to, lovely things to play, and lovely things to look at. And they've always been more associated with a blues-based music rather than country. The country equivalent of the National is a dobro guitar, which is essentially it's a wooden guitar, but still has the steel resonators in it, that circular thing that you see. And they're very adaptable too. A lot of street singers use Nationals because they punch out. The resonator punches the sound out. And you can use them with a bottleneck, you know, a piece of glass or a piece of pipe, metal pipe, or not. And you can, you know, get the action up or down. You can play them flat on your knee, you know, in a more Hawaiian style. There's all sorts of things you can do with them. It's just mates who enjoy insulting one another, really. And it's not roots in the sense that it's not strictly reconstructing old stuff. It's just whatever we feel like slinging at the song, we sling at it. So some things are going to sound rootsy because we figured that maybe that's the best way to do that song. But it's not actually a train spotter's band at all. The purists aren't going to like a lot of the things that we do because we don't. It's not a hillbilly band anyway because I mean there's no mandolin really or banjo or fiddle or anything. We somehow just get around all that.
We don't really play that way, do we?
No. In fact, we're not roots. In fact, we don't really play at all, do we?
That's what I'm doing.
So that's the end.